Ukraine says they've delivered powerful blows to Russia's military invasion. They claim to have slowed the advance as President Biden visits Poland to discuss the humanitarian crisis. Also on the programme this lunchtime, Prince William says any decision by Jamaica, Belize and the Bahamas to become a republic will be supported. And the Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins has died aged 50.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News.
Good afternoon, I'm Suzanne Virdee. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country has delivered powerful blows to Russia's military invasion and slowed its advance. He also claimed 16,000 Russian troops had been killed so far, a figure Russia disputes. Moscow says the first phase of its special operation is over and it will now concentrate on the complete liberation of the eastern Donbas region. The question among analysts in the West is whether that's a real change of tactic or just a pause to help Russia's forces to regroup. James Dunham reports.
Seen by President Zelensky.
Well, let's go live to our correspondents now across the region. Peter Smith is in Poland, where President Biden is due to talk about the humanitarian crisis. But first, to John Ray in Odessa. So, John, is there any sign on the ground of a change in tactics by the Russians?
Well, I think we're getting deliberately mixed messages.
We are talking about one heck of a lot of money. It's a quarter of your budget, isn't it, that you're going to have to lose. You can't possibly, surely, offer the same level of service to the public with that kind of cut.
Well, what we know is that the first £13.4 million that we've got to save, I'm confident we can do that.
We know about the policy to retire more experienced police officers. That's a concern as well. Surely you don't want to be left with a force of relatively inexperienced younger officers, do you? That experience is valuable.
I don't want to lose experienced, capable officers who...
We've also heard over the last few weeks as well about the Forensic Science Service closing, plans to close that. That must worry you.
Forensics are really important and we do need access to them, but it isn't just about the Forensic Science Service.
Gosh, thinking of this as a criminal though, you think, wow, you'd be rubbing your hands together with glee, wouldn't you? Forensic Science Service closes and massive cuts to the police force.
Well, if criminals are watching, the very clear message is, if you come to Warwickshire, but I...
Tonight, living in former office blocks, even shipping containers, the reality for thousands of London children. The Children's Commissioner says it's a scandal kids in boroughs across the capital are growing up in cramped, overcrowded homes.
It's worse than a prison.
Well, Greg Beals is from the homeless charity shelter and joins me now. Greg, thanks for coming in. This is shocking, isn't it? I mean, people will be watching this tonight, incredulous that we can be living in the capital city, the fifth biggest economy in the world. What's going on?
Yeah, well, and I think it's so striking.
We saw in Rags's report there the conditions and how bad they were. But what are your concerns about people living like this long term, children especially?
Yeah, well, and absolutely, and many of them are living, months, even years.
So what is then the answer to this, short term and long term? So we know, don't we, that rent prices are ridiculously high, and it's almost impossible for many, many people to buy a home in the capital. So what is the solution?
Yeah, that's right. So particularly in London, people...
OK, Greg Beals, thank you very much indeed for coming in tonight. Hello and welcome to Midlands Today. On the day that one of Britain's best-loved brands and most famous exports, Cadbury, is taken over by the American food firm Kraft. At first, Cadbury said they'd fight Kraft all the way and called their initial offer derisory. But last night, the tough nut crumbled and gave the go-ahead for a deal. Unions feared job losses and an end to the proud tradition of philanthropic values that this firm was built on 200 years ago. Kraft say those comments are unfounded. But the 2,000 staff who work here at this 24-hour operation and many more across the UK are tonight fearful for their futures. They've been talking to our correspondent, Peter Plisner. But they've been asking for help from you since October 2008. You didn't have much confidence in them.
Well, I think it just goes to show that we would have been wrong to respond in October in handing out taxpayers' money when in the final analysis they didn't need it.
It's been a long 10 months for them, though, hasn't it? A long 10 months when they may have had to shed more jobs. They were warning that they may have to do that.
And indeed, and they knew fully well, as I made clear
Well, earlier I spoke to John Rostill, the Chief Executive of the Worcestershire NHS Trust, which runs the Alexandra Hospital, and asked him what on earth was happening with standards of care there.
Well, first of all, let me reassure you.
An action plan was drawn up, wasn't it, last year, July 2010, sort of ensuring things were put in place to make sure that malnutrition among elderly patients couldn't happen again. That action plan doesn't seem to have been put into action. Why is that?
Well, it's disappointing.
You think you've cured it now, do you?
Well, I have to say...
Are your staff actually up to the job themselves? Are they actually capable of making the changes that are needed? And are you the right man to lead them in that way and to make sure they happen?
Well, certainly, I think we've got the right staff now.
Just a few minutes ago, I spoke to Assistant Chief Constable Sharon Rowe and asked her what the latest situation is.
Yes, I still have a significant number of officers in Birmingham city centre. There is still outbreaks of violence, looting of shops are still taking place. Arrests.
OK, well, we have heard from our reporter who has been in the city centre for us this evening that she's seen looting happening at many stores, one particularly Maplin's electrical store being looted. And she says she's seen officers just standing and watching the looters, well, make a grab for it and run off. Why would that be?
Yes. Well, we have also seen the looting going on the CCTV cameras.
Can I ask you, why would your officers just be standing there watching? Surely they should be stopping them.
Well, as you would have seen, it's holding public order lines. The officers progress and they move in and make an arrest when they witness offences.
Yes, well, I caught up with the Prime Minister on his way to the Midlands this morning and I asked him how he feels about MPs bending, to put it politely, the rules.
Well, I'm angry. I'm appalled. This is practice that should not happen.
We saw yesterday on our programme a mum, Alison Edwards. She went to protest outside Parliament. She says she's struggling for any penny she can get to look after her autistic son. She said, and I quote this, it's pretty strong stuff, Prime Minister, we're not happy with all that's been done. They should all be out, talking about all MPs. They're a disgrace to our nation. She pretty much sums up what most voters are thinking right now, I think.
Well, I understand the sentiment. We've got to do everything, as Alison says, to clean up politics. That's what we've got to do. We started this week, big changes this week. It's been taken out of the hands of MPs. Now, Alison also, I want to be sure that she's getting all the benefits that she's entitled to for her autistic son, and I will personally check up that that is the case.
We very much appreciate that. Prime Minister, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, that was this morning, but right now all three leaders will be very busy prepping for tonight's big debate. With Biggotgate still in the news, very much in the headlines, it's a debate that's important for all three leaders, but perhaps particularly important for Gordon Brown. I'm joined now by our political editor, Patrick Burns. He says yesterday was yesterday, but if he's not careful, he could be in danger of being yesterday's man, couldn't he?
Suzanne, he's determined to show he's actually tomorrow's man. That's why he launched it.
I grew up in multicultural Birmingham, the proud daughter of a white mum and Sikh dad. Half my family are Sikh, so I hear about what's going on in that community. And there's something that's got everybody talking.
You come to meet an underage Sikh girl. Sorry, come to meet an underage Sikh girl.
A Sikh community group has begun hunting down suspected abusers.
The disgusting paedophiles.
And it claims the alleged abuse is racially motivated.
Would you have done the same for a Pakistani girl? No.
So why are some Sikhs hunting suspected paedophiles? And could they be doing more harm than good?
We're live from Stratford-upon-Avon College, talking to the candidates who all want to be your police and crime commissioner for Warwickshire. Our audience tonight is from across the Warwickshire area.
So thank you all very much for being with us. I just want to talk to bring in Simon Payne. He's the chairman of Warwickshire Police Federation. Simon, where are you for us this evening? In the back there. Good evening to you. You're a serving police officer as well, obviously. You want to speak as a Bobby on the beat, do you?
The question I would like to ask of the panel.
I had a tweet while we've been talking from Stratford Business Forum. They're saying, what does this PCC role add to the cost of local policing? Well, you're too expensive, basically. So how much are you going to cost us, James?
Well, I've had several.
How much will you be paid out of interest?
Well, the government has set the salary at 65,000.
Right, so are you value for money?
Yes, I've certainly made the commitment.
This is a heartbreaking case, Suzanne.
Alistair, heartbreaking is just the right word for it. Baby Charlie is just 7 months old. He has mitochondria depletion syndrome, a condition so rare that only 16 people in the world have it, and there is no known cure for it. Basically, it's a genetic disorder, which means the body doesn't produce enough energy for the bodily organs to function correctly. Now, he's currently on a ventilator at Great Ormond Street Hospital, and doctors there say there's nothing more they can do for him. In fact, in court this morning, they said they believe that his condition is deteriorating and that he may even be in pain, something to which his parents shook their heads too. But on that basis, doctors are asking the judge for permission to turn off his ventilator so, as they put it, baby Charlie can die with some dignity. Now, his parents, Chris and Connie, are saying there is hope. They found a doctor in America willing to offer some pioneering treatment. It comes at a cost £1.2 million. So far online, they've managed to raise £70,000. And online, they say just why they're doing this. They say we can't just let our baby die when there's something that might help him. We won't give up on him. They say he deserves a chance of a life as much as anyone else. The full hearing will take place here at the beginning of April, and that's when that judge will have to make that heartbreaking decision.
Suzanne, thank you.
Well, that is it from the London team. I'm back with the latest after the ITV News at 10. Coming up now, Charlene White with the ITV Evening News. Bye for now.